Start up.
Are we waiting for our Ardella this morning?
I got nothing.
I haven't heard anything from her.
It's here. It's 1 minute too.
Cheryl, are you ready?
Yeah.
Don,
Yes.
Heidi?
Yep.
All right. It's 9 o'clock. We'll call this meeting to order of the Whitewater Township Board. If everyone would stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Josh, I understand that you would like to be moved ahead of public comment this morning.
That's correct.
Okay. And then I would like to remove new business number 5. I've not been able to get confirmation from F&V with respect to final charges. So that would be to strike new business number 5 and move Josh Morgan ahead of public comment. Are there any other changes? I'll make a motion to move Josh Morgan above public comment and strike new business number 5. Is there a second?
I'll second. Go ahead. You can
Made and seconded. Further discussion? Roll call when ready.
Sonia?
Yes.
Absent. Pop?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Goss, yes.
Good morning, Josh.
Morning. Right, so month of August, we had a 21.69% year-to-date increase in calls. This month, as opposed to last month, as we know, we helped MMR a lot in the previous month. This month, looks like our conversation with management there helped negate the amount of times we were requested. So that was good on our part. We still did run 13 calls for service. We assisted Flight Lake twice with the wildfire, and then I helped with the mass casualty car accident on Flight Lake Road with Flight Lake at their request. So that was good mutual aid. We're working really well with Flight Lake at this point. So we're going to be looking at our box alarm assignments and seeing how we can adjust and help each other more frequently. As you can tell, I added firefighter participation, more incident data into our report. Some notable things for the month is I completed my Fire Officer 3 series, tested last week. Don't have the results for my test yet, so I can't tell you if I passed or failed. It's probably one of the harder tests I've taken. I leave next week for 8 days. I'm taking my fire inspector, so that way I'll be able to do inspections in the township and then also get plan reviewers so I can help ZBA do plan reviews. And then I was also accepted into the National Fire Academy in Emmitsburg, Maryland. It's a 6-day course, free of charge, completely reimbursed by the FEMA, so there will be no township money for that. It's an executive chief officer program. Like my report states, it's for leadership management, planning, human resources management. You arrive on Sunday, you arrive on Saturday night, class starts first thing Saturday night and runs through Friday, so it's a very intensive program. You're 10 miles from Gettysburg, but you don't have any time to go to Gettysburg. And for reviewing SOPs, we started creating a probationary manual. Our SOP requires one, and we have not had one, so I am in the process of developing one for that. Training, we worked on hazardous materials and operations. I'm a hazmat tech, so I teach hazmat, so it's a topic that's very near and dear to my heart. So we went over our tier 2 sites in the township, which we do have 3. These are sites that store more than 500 pounds of any material on hand. They just have to be reported to the state. And we did ladders at Mill Creek Academy, and practice doing stuff with that. And our normal vehicle maintenance. And then in my packet, the public can see, you guys can see, I do have an excerpt of our probationary manual, just so you guys can see kind of the concept, what we're going to be doing moving forward. Other than that, we're status quo. New people are getting acclimated to the department, they're coming in. Still have interest from some other people in the community about joining the fire department, so kind of taking those one step at a time and just gauging interest and seeing longevity, like what we talked about last time, so. Other than that, do you guys have anything for me?
Talk about staffing again, ideally, how many more would you like to try to recruit?
Looking ahead at potential retirements, and I do have a few members that are starting full-time careers outside of our department. Just looking at losses that we're going to be having, probably I might try to bring on 3 more to replace somebody like Captain Abernowski, who's put in almost 25 years of service. He's ready to retire. We had that discussion, so we're setting dates in the future so we can start planning ahead to have a good succession plan. So I would say 3 in the future to really put us in a comfortable spot.
Doesn't sound like you're behind the 8 ball, it seems like you're being more selective.
Yeah, yeah,
The choices go forward.
yeah, which is where I would like to be.
Sure.
So,
And I just want to say thanks again for all the detail in the report. The numbers framed out really help.
yep, and like I said, my hope is to gather a year's worth of data so that way we can make informed decisions for staffing levels in the years to come, so.
It also helps the public read your report. It's simple. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Josh, before you step away, if you could provide a written schedule of what you covered as far as your time away and who will be covering, so we have a person of contact.
Yep, I can add that
That
to
would
the
be
board. Yep, firefighter Zach Strine is going to be, firefighter EMT basic, Zach Strine will be covering like 8 days away. He did just complete medic school, so he is more than qualified, to run the station while I'm away. So I will provide his contact information for the board. On tap.
Anything else for Chief Morgan? Thank you, sir. Good luck on your classes.
Thank you.
So I think then we will resume our normal agenda, which would take us to public comment. Do we have any public comment in the Township Hall this morning?
Oh, man.
Jerry Buskowski on behalf of PrAC, 6 members. I'm here before you today because our efforts over the last 12 months and slowly into your hands, and in some cases, been presented with bias, in even more additional cases, incorrectness. I presented to you printouts of 2 packages of memos. One is a toddler playground, which was presented to the supervisor last year to be presented in the budget that never found its way to the budget process. Pratt had prioritized that project as being important to Whitewater Township Park Playground. Namely, that playground does not meet consumer product safety guidelines, and it doesn't provide age-appropriate equipment. We felt it was important to provide that, but it was not included.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Gary, but you are not legible on the audio. Can you maybe speak a little closer to the microphone or adjust it?
Okay, is that better?
Yes, sir.
Like voice.
Gary, if you want, you can take that out of the holder and hold it, so you don't have to stoop over.
Is that better?
Yes.
Thank you.
So we went up, took it upon ourselves to attempt to find funding for this project, and that memo is before you. It is a time-sensitive memo, in that the project budget and pricing from the vendor is through the end of this year. We'll hope to install it by the end of the year to achieve that pricing that is presented in the memo. Obviously, it's not on today's meeting agenda, so if this board can take that up there, it's early as convenience and would get to the benefit of the park and the community. The second package that I have is Lotsy Road Trail, and I'm going to refer to Supervisor Potts' memo and try to explain Pratt's position and some of the inaccuracies that are presented in that memo. Paragraph 2, we understand.
Is this public comment or is this for the business item, Gary?
I don't know what the procedure is. If I can speak before the business item.
Okay, that's fine.
Under paragraph 2, we understand the project budget was $150,000. We do not anticipate that we're going to ask for additional funds at this time beyond $150,000. The request from Pratt at this time is not a commitment of funds. It is a request to move on to the next stage, which is to develop a RFP for engineering based on the current plans developed by Kossum and Kupchak. At that point, if we do go out for an RFP, we do receive engineering costs for the next phase of engineering, and I would preface that it could be done incrementally so that next phase of engineering could be phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, so that the total commitment of engineering isn't met until those deliverables are obtained. The budget of $150,000 was looked at by Kossum and Kupchak, and originally there was thought to do boardwalk there. I think there was some confusion by the supervisor in the paragraph whereby the engineer expresses his understanding that a parking lot would not be needed because the trail is not ADA, being designed according to ADA. The $266,000 number that's being presented by the supervisor, it was the budget for the trail work at $50,000, not the parking lot. There's some confusion as to the length of the project. I can tell you last night, I measured this in Google Earth. It's 9,323 feet long, 1.7657,196 miles. So it's not 3 miles, it's 1.76 miles. So the supervisor somehow is using a different number than the actual measurement of the trail. As for soil borings, we had experts, I walked the trail with the experts and the engineer who felt the soil conditions could be overcome by the cross-section presented by the engineer. That is laying a geotextile fabric down, packed stone on top of that. The bridge itself would be helical pier for support. The helical piers would be designed to carry the load of the bridge. Thus, the need for soil borings is not a necessity. The bridge itself, the $50,000 that originally was presented was for a bridge that would carry an ATV. Practice felt that a walking trail did not necessarily need a bridge to carry an ATV. Access could be obtained from both the east and the west for emergency purposes. The bridge is now estimated between $8,000 and $15,000. As I said earlier, we're not asking for this board to commit funds at this point. We're asking for the acceptance of the plan as presented, like Awesome July 9th, and an instruction to put out an RFP for the next phase of engineering. This board will have the opportunity moving forward to accept engineering costs, to accept the bid costs, and take those risks on at those times. Without moving forward to this next phase, we will not reach that opportunity. Thank you.
Any other comments in Township Hall?
I have a comment.
1 second, please. We're still in the hall, thank you.
County Highmore Banks Road. Rick Goss continues to report the cost of the Banks Road debacle. After 2.5 years, Goss erroneously thinks the lawsuit is about a developer, when in fact the lawsuit is against the township breaking the laws clearly stated in the general and zoning ordinances of Whitewater Township. How can she be so confused? How can she hold a position on this board and not know what the lawsuit is about? Maybe Clerk Goss has so many problems buried in her office that she can't pull herself out of the hole she's dug for herself. Maybe Clerk Goss would like to enlighten the people about her IRS error in 2018 that came to her attention in 2021. She continues to refuse to resolve this. Goss will soon leave office, and it appears she will leave her mess for the new board to clean up. This IRS error has its own attorney costs and IRS fines. I don't see her informing the citizens of her lone responsibility and costs pertaining to this serious offense. Clerk Goss, you may have pulled the wool over the eyes of your friends, but the rest of us see you for what you are. This is the legacy you will leave in November. The IRS debacle, the marijuana debacle, the Whitewater Township Park debacle, and the Bags Road debacle. Board meeting minutes reflect how many times you voted to break the law. We don't need people in government that have personal agendas instead of working for the people. The gig is up, Clerk Goss. Whitewater Township cannot afford your costly and incompetence, your costly errors and incompetence anymore.
Anyone else in Township Hall? Good morning, Zoom members. If you'd like to make a public comment, please use the raise your hand function and we will call on you as they get shuffled around. Good morning, Vicky Beam.
Good morning. I apologize in advance. I hope you can hear me okay, but I'm in a public spot and wanted to be part of this meeting. Totally echo everything that Connie Highmore just said. I'd like to point out that Clerk Goss continues to make false accusations about the lawsuit as well. And he was assuming that the lawsuit is based upon the illegal division of the property, which is well over your maximum of 4 to 1. There is nothing in the lawsuit that pertains to the number of houses being built or any of the other comments that she keeps putting in her clerk report. You all tried to cover up the fact that you're zoning administrator, planning commission chair, and even tried to cover up the fact that there was an error made and you did not take the time to correct it. I'd also like to mention that Goss is stating that I am pressuring people, or we are pressuring people to make donations. This is one other untruth of hers in her letter. It's just another one that she continues to spread. We have simply sent out updates to those that have requested an ongoing update of what the status is. And for those that would like to make a donation toward our legal fund, have given the opportunity to do so. Quite honestly, the blame for the cost on both Whitewater Township, well as the group of taxpayers that are taking this cost on, is because of the board. Again, your former zoning administrator, the ZBA, and the planning commission. Thank you for your time, Don, Ron, and Heidi. Good riddance to Clerk Goss, Bennett, and McLean. Thank you.
Good morning, resident. I see your hand up on Zoom.
I'm not sure why it says resident, but this is Karen Boyd, 6303 Bags Road. I'm not sure who hired or how Deb Garber came into the picture for zoning administrator, but I tell you what, it's nice to know that we have somebody in the township zoning administration position that's paying attention, that follows things by the law, by the rule, and doesn't let anything go by. We've had an event that's been going on for 10 years. And I've heard threats of trying to cancel it, try to stop it. And we are not doing anything illegal. We've checked everything that we were supposed to do. And apparently the zoning administrator previous to Deb Garber never told us that we needed a land use permit. We needed a permit. It really was not a hard thing to do. It was not difficult, and it was done immediately. Kudos to Deb and those who have given her a hard time for her position. Maybe step back and look at what your job is and give her the credit that she deserves. Thank you.
Anyone else on Zoom wishing to make a public comment? All right, we will close the public comment at 9:22 this morning. That brings us to proposed consent calendar. Is there anyone wishing to make a motion on the consent calendar?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
I'll second for conversation.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, roll call when ready.
Glenn,
Yes.
Pat,
No.
Bennett is absent. Longhill,
No.
Goss, yes.
Heidi, were you a no?
Yep.
Okay, so the consent calendar fails. Is there any particular item, Heidi, that would change your mind?
Probably not.
Okay. So that brings us to unfinished business number 1. I will make the motion as written on page 64. Motion to discuss where there added expenses and cost, or did we just make a mistake?
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion?
I have some discussion here. How do you discuss this if the person doesn't show up to the meeting?
Well, what I understand, Heidi, is that the treasurer first printed certain backs of tax bills with their pictures and so on and so forth, and that document then was turned over to Bureau of Elections. Clerk Goss said, yeah, it was a problem with the county. County said, no, it wasn't. Surprise. And so you basically want to know where all of that labor and expenses went for the first printing of the tax bill. Is that what I'm understanding?
Correct.
So the clerk likely approved all of the wages. She's there.
Cheryl, can you tell us what happened with this?
I told you last month the information that I was given. I stand by the information that I was given. You'd have to talk to the treasurer's office, and we don't approve the treasurer is on salary, and the deputy treasurer's wages are approved by the treasurer, not by our office. Or their timesheets approved by the treasurer.
We're getting nowhere. So all the wasted paper, the ink, the time, y'all stated budget for a newsletter that wasn't supposed to exist. Okay.
Well, we don't know that it was actually part of the newsletter, do we, Heidi?
No, we don't.
I
We don't
mean,
know what it was.
the treasurer could have covered it under her budget, which would still be, you know, yeah, of interest.
So.
You can
guess
look
we'll
at the
never
timesheet,
know.
you can look at the timesheet from the deputy treasurer and see what hours were. And I'm pretty sure there weren't any newsletter hours because there wasn't a newsletter. The newsletter is a separate document from the tax bill, always has been.
Yeah, we understand that. I think Heidi is looking at this being a campaign finance issue. That's what I understand.
Take that up with Grand Traverse County Clerk Bonnie Sheelan.
Well,
I think state of Michigan.
Well, that too.
Whatever. It's interesting that all these changes took place, but we don't know why we did them. Okay. It's all right. You can leave us in the dark.
You would have to talk to the treasurer's office about that. You can call them on the phone, stop in,
Yep.
send an email.
They've been unresponsive to emails.
I
If
guess
you're so sure there's a campaign finance violation, then report it. Why screw around?
I did.
Report it.
I did.
Well,
Make no
apparently it
mistake
wasn't-
about that.
I don't think
there's been a kind of investigation, so apparently it was probably relegated to the crank file.
Or that they lost, got spanked.
No, I'm talking about whoever you reported it to didn't investigate it. Didn't find it important enough to investigate.
Heidi, so what's the resolution on this?
Well, if you can't get any information, apparently nothing, so I'll remove my motion if you'll remove yours, and
You're gonna remove a motion to discuss that wasn't voted on?
we didn't vote to have this discussion, then why are we discussing it?
Yeah, interesting.
And so you didn't call the vote, right? So now that the clerk has let us know that, do you wanna call the roll?
You want to just bring it back next month and see if she shows up?
Sure, why not?
Why not?
We still haven't discussed the risks, so. Have to go with it, keep bringing it back, no problem.
Okay.
I should have just removed it, but that's all right.
So that brings us to UB number 2, Park Electrical. That is found on packet page 69, excuse me. Motion authorizing the supervisor to sign the C2AE professional service agreement dated April 4th, 2024 in the amount of $21,500.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion?
Thank you for bringing this back to the table.
So I have heard back from C2AE, as long as we execute this agreement within the 2024 fiscal year, the price remains the same.
Perfect.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call when ready.
Bob,
Yes.
Goss, Novalia,
Yes.
Bennett is absent, Glenn.
Yes.
Unfinished business number 3. Electronic packet page 71. Motion 1, motion to approve the supervisor's ARPA report to Grand Traverse County.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? I would like to make one amendment to that, Heidi. I would like to include the date of the report.
I'll take my second off the table and put it back on, which is.
Talk about the date of your letter, Tom, which is June 27th.
Right. Thank you, Don.
Yeah, I was trying to get to there, dude.
Date on that letter is June 27th, 2024.
So you wanna remake your motion?
So motion to approve the supervisor's ARPA report dated June 27th to Grand Traverse County.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Roll call when ready.
Lem,
Yes.
Todd,
Yes.
Bennett is absent, Goss, no, Damian,
Yes.
Unfinished business number 4 begins, the motion is actually on packet page 73. Motion to seek 3 electrical and mechanical bids to supply and install one 12,000 BTU Energy Star certified ductless mini split system with an SEER2 rating of greater than or equal to 18 and an HFP2 rating greater than or equal to or greater than 9 in the treasurer's office.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. There's a lot of technical stuff there, folks.
Yes, there is.
But basically, from the May packet, I understood, and rightfully so, that $40,000 to engineer mechanical components that would fit in our attic or in our crawl space and still leave that clear span of the meeting room completely open was very expensive. I'm fine, quite frankly, with just putting in an overhead forced air heater in there. But trying to salvage some of our draft facility needs study, focus on air conditioning and maybe some energy savings. This may be the way to go. Any questions?
No, I tend to agree. It seems like to be the middle ground of the options.
Cheryl, any questions? Heidi?
I can't wait to see what these quotes come in as, but down the road, but you're kind of stuck. Cause even if you go your first route, then you're letting equipment just sit there and do nothing, so. You don't really have too many options, Ryan, unless you change everything out.
We may find that this option even exceeds the $15,000 where we have to get an engineer involved. We may find that.
And you're not gonna know until you throw it out there, so.
Right.
See what happens.
Okay. Roll call when ready.
Bennett is absent, Damian,
Yes.
Todd,
Yes.
Lem,
Yes.
Goss, no.
I believe that brings us to new business number 1. Don, would you like to take the lead on this, sir?
Sure.
Back at page 74.
I'll make a motion, pardon me? So I'd like to make a motion to remove the interim label and approve Mike Wire as the township's designated Parks and Recreation Manager at his current annual salary rate of $47,700 per the adopted salary wage schedule for 2024/2025.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Mike, are you there in the township hall this morning?
Yes, I am.
Would you kindly step to the podium to see if there's any questions for the board members?
Sure.
From the board members, I'm sorry. Board, any questions for Mike?
I have a couple.
Sure.
How's this year go?
We feel like great. I don't have any numbers to compare with previous years, but we're coming in with only a month's notice to take over part of it. Had basically no management for the last 6 months. We were able to hire complete staff, train them, and execute a fantastic year. My staff, greatest bunch of people I've ever worked with, so.
And plan for next year?
Plan for next year is returning staff. We have lots of ideas for park improvements that will require, whether it's grants or money, but we have a list of ideas that we'd like to do.
Any chance I'm bringing a few interns in to assist you?
Possibly.
That's all I got.
What do you mean by interns, Heidi?
Well, we didn't look into any different ways to increase our staff from like volunteers or park interns that might want to be a park ranger. There's also youth work industries. There's a lot of resources we can pick from and choose from. If we start now, maybe it'll look better come spring.
We have used work youth industries in the past, or whatever you want to call them. Some of those programs are beneficial, some maybe less than beneficial, but I like the way you're thinking.
Just throwing out ideas out there.
Mike, any questions for the board?
No. Just want to say that the board has been very professional dealing with me this year, and I thank everybody for the success, that they helped enable.
Any final questions for Mike? Roll call when ready.
Pat,
Yes.
Beck is absent, Vanya,
Yes.
Goss, no, Glenn?
Yes.
Thank you, Mike. Congratulations. New business number 2 begins on packet page 75. Motion to accept Linda Slopesma resignation letter dated August 8th, 2024 from the Whitewater Township Planning Commission.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Linda, thank you for your guidance on both PRAC early on and Planning Commission. We certainly appreciate your diligence and your professionalism on both of those boards. Any other questions or comments? Roll call when ready.
Vanya,
Yes.
Goss, yes, Glenn?
Yes.
Beck is absent, Pat.
Yes. I'm sorry, did I miss something there, board?
I just asked if Cheryl had voted. I must have just
Okay.
glossed over it, so.
Are you good to go, Don?
Yes.
Okay. New business number 3, McLean resignation. I'll make a motion on page 77 to motion to open a board discussion regarding the resignation process and recording secretary duties.
I'll second for discussion purposes.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion?
How do you resign from one thing?
We'll just call a roll here. Roll call when ready.
Goss, no. Glenn,
Yes.
Dennis is absent. Pat,
Yes.
Bowman,
Yes.
Motion made, seconded, voted on. Did you have some questions, Heidi?
Yeah, how do you resign from one thing? You either have to, it's all or nothing, you don't get to pick and choose, cause I wanna know what job that is, I wanna go work there. It's either all or nothing, you're either doing a job or you're not. Because, are we supposed to have expectations that 5 minutes before a prac meeting, she decides she wants to quit then too? Or a ZBA meeting after, you've noticed it and everything else? Do you take that chance? Somebody has to help me here. Understand.
It would seem to me that getting a recording secretary, as we budgeted wages for that position, the recruiting of a person to do multiple boards versus just one opportunity may attract more candidates because there's more opportunity for that service. I think there's pros and cons to both sides of that, but my opinion would be that to solicit, go out and solicit and hire a recording secretary would be, I think we'd be better served if we're looking at filling all three of those slots, the PC, the prac, and the ZBA.
It really doesn't do anything about Heidi's comment about, fill-ins, but I suppose each board, each body is going to need to be prepared to make those last minute fill-ins. What do you think about that, Heidi?
Well, look at the situation we're in with Zoom, okay? It was up to each individual body to figure it out. One chose to. The other two chose not to. Fair to the public? We work for the public. They're not real happy about it, but that's the decision we made, and it was each committee doing what they needed to do. So now we only have one committee Zooming. And two committees have a recording secretary. See how this is going? Very lopsided here. And that means you have to train someone in those committees. It's not like you can just open the computer and run Zoom. It's not that easy if you don't know what you're doing. Just like taking minutes. A lot of people are trained for that. Even though it's a job task. So how are we gonna secure minutes in Zoom? Because apparently the solution we gave them didn't work.
So are you suggesting that you tie the two together, that
Why
when
wouldn't
you
I?
get, well, that's what I'm asking, that's where I thought you were headed with it,
I just don't understand, the solution we gave is not working. I mean, even when, it's up to the committees, well, even when I sat in the ZBA, they didn't want the Zoom there. Well, ZBA is pretty important to the people, but apparently the people sitting on the committee don't want Zoom on two of the committees. Closing the door, leaving information on the table, off the table. We're in a mess right now. Why are we in this mess? It's because we've left it up to the committees, and the committees forget who they work for. So if the people request a recording secretary in Zoom, why not make it, tie it together? It's not that hard. Lois did it, I've done it now, I took minutes and I haven't taken minutes in 10 years and I took minutes. So we have to either A, you're gonna throw it on the chair of the committee. Are you gonna put it in a bylaw? I mean, what are we gonna do here? Because you only have one committee doing it, and, you know, will that committee still do it after November? Hard to tell.
You bring up a good point, Heidi. Does the new board even wish to maintain Zoom presence, right? So really, we don't know. I see this motion and potentially the next motion getting us through, you know, the November 20th deadline or date of when authority transfers to a new board.
Correct, I mean, what are you gonna do? All those people could show up at a meeting and your recording secretary could decide she don't wanna do it in 5 minutes before the meeting. So, cause if you quit once, you're gonna quit again. I mean, I know Lois is listening, she's on Zoom, but, you know, it's our decision, but now she's left you without. So a solution could be, is there anyone in the two committees on the planning commission or the ZBA and the PrAC that could do those two positions? I know the ZBA, there's one possible candidate, there's also another possible candidate for the PC, but I don't know what the PrAC's gonna do.
In a 2-meeting scenario, let's see, that math may not work. So let's potentially say that planning commission will have 2 more meetings. Let's potentially say that the ZBA has 2 meetings and PrAC potentially has 2 meetings.
Well, they have 2 meetings next week, I think, Monday and Tuesday. So that could be 4 meetings.
Yeah, well, they also think their meeting minutes are recommendations. So I have severe doubt that that's even a functioning board, because if we can't trust their minutes, we can't trust their minutes. So, but that's a different topic. So essentially 6 meetings. We need to find somebody to cover 6 meetings. It would be, to me, logical for Deb Graber to do planning and zoning. I've also asked her to potentially think about doing PrAC if they were to meet. She was not opposed to it. So I think we can get it covered. And then really,
Cost,
I'm sorry.
the cost has already been budgeted.
Yeah, the cost is documented in our schedules, but I don't know how we would accommodate Deb as a salary person that's taking on additional duties. So she would not necessarily I don't know how the board would want to deal with that. Obviously, she's gonna have to be allowed more time than her, 24 hours a week or whatever she's supposed to put in.
Would that be a separate entity though? Could it be a separate job? Just like if a trustee does something extra, there's a stipend available for us, or the PC does something, there's.
You're talking about the additional compensation activities?
Whatever that thing.
Why wouldn't she be paid, why wouldn't whoever does it be paid the recording secretary wage that's already established?
Well, my thought, Cheryl, on that was, for example, let's just take planning commission as an example, which I think is the worst case. Well, ZBA too. Deb would already be paid to show up to that meeting. Why would we then compensate her recording secretary wages? In other words, double duty.
Well, temporarily, do you give her a stipend till you figure it out, or do you just increase your salary? I don't know what to do here, because the only way you have it is it's documented, a budgeted item. How do you do that?
I'm recommending that what we do is, and again, for conversation purposes, let's say Deb is working 24 hours a week. And let's say that she has a 2-hour planning commission meeting. She gets paid under zoning, planning and zoning to attend the meeting. What is the time it takes to create those minutes? You don't have to re-attend the meeting. So can you do minutes of a 2-hour meeting in 1 hour? Therefore, we take her allowable hourly range, or not hourly range, but her number of hours per week up to 25, 26. What do we do?
Well, you're looking at. We're looking at 8 hours additionally, possibly for just 3 meetings. So that would be 16 for 2. That's just to attend the hours of the, like, no minutes, no Zoom. So she's already getting paid for that, so.
I was trying to focus in on the stuff that might trigger a double payment, Heidi.
Right, that's what I was trying to think too, but.
Are you thinking along the lines of an increase in the hours from 24 to something higher would be in conjunction with a change in the salary based on the additional job requirement, additional job duty? Because that doesn't exist today in her job description.
Yeah, good point, Don. That is what I was thinking. You know, if I'm recalling Deb's job description, like 24 hours a week or something like that, up to 24 hours a week. So then you just do some simple division math, you come up with an hourly rate. And I'm not opposed to, you know, just, I think the recording secretary gets paid $50 an hour to make the minutes. So maybe what we do is, if we determine.
Gets paid $53 an hour to attend the meeting and prepare the minutes.
Right. Thank you for that correction. And so if it was a 2-hour meeting, we already know that, you know, Deb was going to, in the case of a planning commission meeting, already attend the meeting, so we don't pay double duty for that. But maybe we pay an hour's wages at $53 an hour to create the minutes from that meeting.
So that would be that would fall in lines with compensation for not only that scenario, but then for the ZBA and the PrAC? If that's done as well?
So I think the ZBA, Don, in my thinking, is very similar to planning commission. Deb is likely going to attend that meeting. PrAC meeting, she may not, right? So then she would be eligible for the $53 an hour to attend the meeting and generate the minutes.
And it's paid based on the length of the meeting, not how long it takes to do the minutes. So if the meeting is 2 hours, that person gets paid $106. If the meeting is 1 hour, they get paid $53. It doesn't matter how long it takes them to do the minutes. They don't get paid on an hourly basis to do that.
So that 53 is all inclusive for the attendance and the
Yes.
production?
We didn't even discuss Zoom, we're throwing Zoom in, or are we not?
We don't have a wage for a Zoom facilitator. We don't even have a job description for a Zoom facilitator.
For a what?
For a Zoom coordinator. And how were we paying someone in the past?
We weren't. Lois was doing it, but she got paid her recording secretary wage and did not get paid additional to do Zoom. The only thing she got paid for was generating Zoom invitations, distributing them to who needed them, also downloading the Zoom recordings to be available to people that people were requesting them.
So we're looking at 2 months. And we don't know what the new clerk might wanna do coming in, so do we just come up with a one-time stipend, hourly? I don't know. Cause you've got $50, $53, $106, we're all over the map here. So how do we come to a compromise? Cause it is extra responsibility. You definitely have to compensate someone for it.
Who is opposed to $53 an hour to create the minutes for, and that's our going rate currently, for planning and zoning, which would include planning commission and ZBA. Yeah. No
For
matter what you do.
Only, or you can, minutes only, or are you throwing Zoom in there too?
Zoom's not
I
current.
think
No.
what's in front of us right now, Heidi, is
Okay,
recording secretary duties.
that's fine.
Well, I tell you this, planning commission has got a secretary. So secretary of the planning commission does the minutes. Last bylaws I read, which was quite a while ago, indicated that the secretary can look to the recording secretary for help. I don't know.
Craig has a secretary position as well.
Mm-hmm.
So does ZBA.
Yeah.
So in the interim, we just want to make the secretaries responsible to take the minutes.
Whoa. Are you gonna train them?
Well, I mean, it is an interim solution. I think the point came up earlier. What does the new board want to do? You know, regarding recruitment of a recording secretary and how they might feel about creating a Zoom requirement as part of that as well. I think that they're going to be the ones affected by the next 4 years with both of those decisions. I feel that given the suddenness of this, that our position today should be to put in the stopgap and allow them to formulate what they would like to do going forward.
I think we let Doug handle it till the new regime comes in, and then that gives the people that are sitting on the, sitting on the committees, chances to get some training, get their feet wet a little bit. Who would post the stuff, who's gonna post the minutes on the website? We seem to have a little issue with that every once in a while, so it would be, would Deb do that if she's doing this? Would the clerk do it? Would the supervisor do it?
Who's ever getting paid to do it would do that.
Post to the township location.
Yeah.
There might be some training involved in that also.
I doubt highly anybody on the ZBA is going to take minutes. I can tell you that.
I said, let's leave it in the hands of the zone, of Deb. Cause at least it's getting done and filling the requirements. And if we gotta send in a trainer. There's nothing that says somebody can't go in and sit next to somebody and train them how to do this. I mean, I trained Cheryl's deputy clerk in the middle of executive session to take minutes. She never taken them before, okay.
You did not train my deputy.
Oh, yeah, well
clerk.
then how come she never got any training to stop it on tape, Cheryl?
She has a minutes
It's on tape.
format document to follow, and that's what she did.
Awesome, that's so special. She had a blank piece of paper, but go ahead.
No, she didn't.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, laugh all you want, Cheryl. In the meantime, there might have to be some kind of training.
Is there gonna be some action on this? Or
Yeah,
we
because you're
talk
gonna have to make
about-
some job requirements, but I think we give it to Deb and the new regime's gonna have to make a policy. You're gonna have to make a policy and some training, you're gonna have to do something.
I make a motion that the clerk does it. It's her responsibility.
It's not the clerk's responsibility.
Well, the problem is, that would be the easy way out, but we know what's gonna happen, it'll be another memo of nothing.
Well, here is, Linda Slopson wanted to try and tell me that it was my responsibility and cite a statute that doesn't say what she says it does. And so I went to the MTA and talked to Cindy Dodge, former clerk, longtime MTA resource. And I posed the question to her. And her reply was, those public bodies are responsible for their own minutes. It is not the responsibility of the clerk.
they should have an appointed secretary, and their bylaws should state their responsibilities are for the minutes. It is common for the township board to budget a recording secretary to help these boards out, but it is not required. If they do not have recording secretary assistants, they would keep their own minutes based on their bylaws. It is not the clerk's responsibility.
Did you get that in writing by chance, Cheryl? I'd
Yeah.
like to see it if you have it in writing.
Well, the entire planning commission was given this on August 26th. I got this on August 26th. Linda Slopson has this, Heidi has this. I sent it on to the entire planning commission so that they would know that the clerk is not going to be at their meetings and that they
No,
have
do
to
you
figure out
have
who's
Cindy's
going to take
words?
minutes.
Do you have Cindy's words in writing?
Those are the words I just read.
Yeah, I know. Can we have them in writing?
Heidi already has them in writing. She can forward it to
See
you.
how this works? Certain people get certain things. Isn't
I
this
sent
awesome,
I
Jean?
sent it to the entire planning commission because
But
Linda
you didn't send it to
Slopson
the board.
is the
Okay.
one who, well, you got it, Heidi.
I
You're
got
on
it.
board.
And I sent the rules, so.
Yeah, so Heidi's got it, she
I
can
got it. I'll
forward it
send it
on
to
to
you.
you. And it was on August 26th, and I supplied it to the entire planning commission so that they would understand that it's their responsibility, absent an appointed recording secretary. It is their responsibility to get their minutes done. If they have a meeting, they must produce minutes. It is their responsibility.
It
Someone
depends if
from
you're
among their
following
ranks.
MTA or
And-
Robert's Rules of Order.
This is the MTA right here.
And
You got it,
do we
Heidi.
follow Robert's
On
Rules of
October,
Order?
on August 26th, you got it.
Okay.
And it was CC'd to the MTA attorney and two other people at
She
MTA.
sent it to the MTA. Well, we use Robert's Rules of Order, which is parliamentary.
Well,
In the
Robert's
bylaws, so
rules.
you have to go to Robert's Rules first.
Robert's Rules of Order doesn't speak to statutory responsibilities.
If this helps move things along, and I don't know that it does or it doesn't, but my research indicates quite right along the lines of what Cheryl's research, what she read. So I think that get back to the matter at hand is, how are we going to stopgap? How are we going to stopgap this for the next couple months?
Honestly, Heidi's report, she has volunteered to do the minutes, so I think the planning commission is covered until Heidi's off the board.
Well, here's a problem. You still gotta do the ZBAs and the PRACs. And none of those people are tech savvy,
We don't even
Cheryl.
know if we're gonna have a ZBA meeting.
And we don't even know,
November.
okay, we don't even know if we're gonna have any of these people with the new board coming in. So I think that to stay in line.
Craig can
so that
take
the
their own
people-
minutes. They will not have a problem taking their own minutes.
Yeah, that's wrong.
Yeah, it is because you're
Well,
gonna
that's
get
what
you
they
get.
have to do in the absence of a recording secretary. So either appoint a recording secretary for the next couple months, or let the bodies do it, either one, but we've talked this to death now.
Yeah, and the only thing we haven't talked to death is training people to do it. And guess what? Educate, educate. You're supposed to educate, educate. Otherwise, you can't delegate if you don't educate. And if you wanna send that to legal, that's
Well,
what you're gonna get from us.
If somebody wants to know what has to be in meeting minutes, they can get it off the MTA website. The MTA website has what has to be in the minutes. There's very little that actually has to be in
We
the
get that,
minutes,
Cheryl.
except
I'm
for the
going
zoning
back.
board of appeals.
I'm gonna go back and give the responsibility to an employee of the township. Not a volunteer on a commission, but an employee of the township. Cause you're only as good as your minutes.
We'll make a motion then, Heidi, let's move this along.
So thinking that we already have a motion and we're discussing the secretary duties, Heidi, are you formulating?
I'm trying to get an amount. 53. Is that a flat rate, an hourly rate? maybe we should ask the person that we're delegating it to. She is in the room.
Well, you have an established recording secretary wage for each body. It's the same for each body. Are you going to go against your own salary wage schedule?
That wasn't a question. We haven't even asked the person if she's willing to do this for that set amount.
Well, you're talking amount, so I thought,
I have to ask Deb a question. Can I ask Deb a question, Ron? Do you care?
I don't know that she's on the meeting.
She's sitting right in the room here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Can you come up to the podium, please? Hello. Knowing that you've already accomplished this in another lifetime, so it's not a problem for you to do this. Is the amount of money on the table sufficient in your opinion?
Let's just keep this thing moving. Yes, it's fine.
Thank you.
Okay, and there will be a ZBA hearing in October. There will not be one in September, but there will be one in October. November is unknown.
Okay, thank you. There's your answer.
What I heard you ask, Heidi, is if the money was sufficient. What was the
Yes.
money?
$53 an hour is what it was to do the minutes. Is that not what came out of the clerk's mouth? $53?
no, that's not what I said. $53 an hour is what is paid to recording secretaries to attend the meeting and produce the minutes.
So she's already at the meeting, but she's gotta do the minutes, post them, and take the responsibility. I'm good with that. Because she's a salaried employee, so she already has to attend the meetings anyway, so this is like a stipend. In my opinion, what's your opinion, Don?
Yeah, I can't connect the two between attending the meeting, in her current role and this duty that we're asking her to perform as a recording secretary. It is not part of her existing job description. It is above and beyond. I'm just kind of rolling that around in my head and I don't, I'm thinking of a scenario where Heidi was on the board and she took minutes for us and was compensated via the additional activities compensation. Retrospect, maybe that should have been $53, but that's neither here nor there. I don't see that. I don't opinion that seeing that Deb, just because she has to be at the zoning meeting and then asking her to go above and beyond to take the do the recording secretary, I don't see that as a conflict. Because it's not part of her job description today. And maybe, new board wants to add that somewhere down the line, but I think, if she's willing to do it, we have, to Cheryl's point, we have it, it's predetermined, it's on the salary wage scale, there's no point in negotiating, even discussing that any further. It's just, how we satisfy the needs over the next couple of months. And I think if Deb's willing to do it, and $53 an hour is acceptable to her to attend the meeting, produce the minutes and post those on the website, then I think that's a solution.
And we need to document this process somehow. And how long? Does she have to do it for 6 months before committees get realigned and everybody coming in gets their feet wet? You're still gonna have to train and educate somebody else. So do we give her the position for 6 months? Then we would have to make some kind of process and policy for her to do that? Or do we just put it under the additional wages?
I'm not sure, salaried, people are, eligible for the additional activities compensation program. Maybe it's just salary board members. I know salary board members are not eligible for it.
So there's another process change. So do you do an addendum in the meantime to sacrifice this and then write a policy? How do you do this?
I was just reading section 3 of our adopted administrative policy, specifically 3.4. And Cheryl, I believe, stated correctly that any non-salary board, commission, committee, or society member who accepts additional occasional duties assigned by a body is eligible for additional compensation. Non-salary. But that does include board, commission, committee, society members, so on and so forth. Does not say employee. So I don't believe, in short, the additional compensation provision applies to Deb.
I wouldn't think so. I would think it would have to be a separate process. Because it's an employee versus the elected official.
So conversation for thought, this kind of brings us back to the middle of this circle, unfortunately. I concur that each board or commission is responsible to detail. No, that's posting, not taking the minutes. I'm sorry. No, that's wrong.
Ron, some of those bylaws refer to Robert's rules and then parliamentary procedure. So, or the MTA, so now you're mixing stuff. But okay. Is that half and half issue again?
All joking aside,
Yeah.
we could just suspend all meetings that need a recording secretary.
Well, you could, but that's gonna help, that's not gonna help the situation, it's gonna.
No, it doesn't.
Makes more of a mess. Couldn't we call it a stipend? Somehow.
Well, the other alternative here is that we don't use Deb. So for example, why don't we just advertise something?
You're out of time.
Well,
I'm just saying, if you logically think about posting, interviewing and all of that, you're in the same predicament. That's 6 to 8 weeks, maybe 9 weeks. And that's if anybody applies, but if nobody applies. So I think putting, okay, call it the interim recording secretary, and now our employee is doing 2 jobs, how's that? I don't know how else to fix this. You have too many processes thrown in the middle here.
Don, going back to something that you said, you were having trouble pinning this additional duty to Deb's current duties. And I concur with that. So does that necessarily eliminate her from doing these things?
I don't think so. In my mind, you would, the light would be, process would be, in my opinion, the creation of a paragraph to be added to a current job description, increasing those duties, and thereby making an adjustment in the salary based on the fact that the additional responsibilities are there. But you know, timing is of the essence again.
So do you do that?
But,
Do
you know,
give her
but-
two positions?
Well, the downside of that, and as I say that out loud, the con of that is the new board comes in and decides they wanna hire a recording secretary, and we have tagged the zoning administrator's job description with that, and now now you have to go and undo that 90 days, 120, 180. I think the timing of this is what's causing the consternation. You know, you go back to, this is a little complex. Do you just go back to the lowest common denominator? Each commission or each committee is responsible. They all have secretaries. They're responsible for recording the minutes. And we provide them with the MTA guideline of what has to be in the minutes, and offer up some assistance as necessary to help those people get it posted to the website. And let the board, the incoming board, make a decision. Do they want to hire a recording secretary to handle not only those those commissions and committees today, but there may be subcommittees that they create down the road as well. They may want to have a person that's universal. The content, the format, and the procedures are all going to be the same if it's one person, which lends itself to some value.
Do you have a recording secretary on the board of review?
The supervisor is the recording secretary to the board of review.
That's a statutory.
Right. Do we give it to Deb and make it for 6 months? That covers everything. If 3 months are covered, that gives the incoming board 3 months to make a decision, and they can always just re-up another 6 months with Deb if they can't figure it out. But at least you have a solution for the people. Did we lose you, Ron, or are you reading?
Well, I was just thinking, I think to move this item along, you know, I didn't think it would be this difficult, but to move it along, I kind of, like Don's words, each body is up to them. And, those people who can't use a computer are gonna have to learn, or,
You do know that this is a riskful way to have people get up and walk away from a table. Just count one. So.
what do you mean by that, Heidi?
Okay, I took the secretary, role playing here, I took the secretary position, and now you're telling me I have to take minutes, I quit. Now you could have a quorum, well, you wouldn't have a quorum problem, but you could lose 3-4 members off of 4 committees, but 3 committees. Cause you're giving them an ultimatum instead of easing them into the predicament in the position. So you're telling them it's their responsibility, yet you have not tackled education or training. Now, they got the title, but, look at the prac, who's the secretary on the prac, Fran? Okay, I've hardly heard Fran speak 3 or 4 words in the meeting. So now you're gonna ask her to take minutes, is Fran okay with that? So now you have some more darts you're throwing on the board. Why not just come to a concrete solution here for at least 6 months? So who gets the blame when people quit? I'm gonna get it, Don's gonna, whoever makes this decision is gonna get the blame. It's not gonna be the person that walks away from the committee. I don't know what to tell you guys, here's a risk,
I think we advertise the position as a recording secretary, and if we don't have one, then we don't have one. Then each individual body is gonna determine whether or not they're gonna have a meeting, take the minutes. Like I say, some of our boards and commissions,
is this?
like I say, some of our boards and commissions don't even think their minutes are fucking real. So.
Are we coming to this conclusion because we can't figure out how to get it onto Deb's payroll? Is that what we're doing here? Is that why we're? You can't let people on commissions, at least according to the attorney, you have to educate and train. So, you know, I'm sorry, but that was like beat into my head when I asked a couple questions. And it was our attorney that gave me that advice, by the way. The only time I got charged for a consultation. If we're not gonna educate, then these people have taken these positions on false pretenses. You're blindsiding them. So I'm going with give it to the zoning limit, the employee that can do the job for 6 months. And let these people understand that you're the secretary, here's how you do your job now. Because somebody's gonna have to train them, and the only person in those meetings soon that's gonna be able to train them is probably Deb. So I would like to compensate her for that, because she does enough for free for us. So is there a way we can come to terms where we can ease this instead of possibly the other way? I don't see happiness on the other way. I see we're going in a direction that hurts the people that are volunteering for the task. You're making them do something they didn't sign up for. Just an opinion.
In reality, this only affects PrAC because I believe that the Planning Commission already has a backup plan. And if the ZBA can't figure out a backup plan, then I guess they can't figure out a backup plan. And so I really, after all this conversation, it really just affects PrAC.
I don't see it that way, but okay.
I didn't understand that, Heidi.
I said, I don't see it only affecting PrAC. I see it affecting all the commissions and all the people that stepped up to be the secretary. So my next question is, here we go again, who's gonna place the ad? because we had this problem with the fire chief. Nobody likes to do the work. So I don't understand why we're not taking the easy solution here, which is a 6-month solution, and prepare the people to do the task. Somebody that's the secretary might, okay, show me how to do it, I'm in. Somebody might get up from the table and say, screw you, I'm out of here. You eliminate all that if you take a different direction here of giving somebody the responsibility for 6 months and easing the people into it. But if you wanna go your other direction, okay. It's a little scary for me, but okay. But I need to know who's gonna place the ad. And write it. No volunteers, see, simple solution, 6 months. And get your house in order.
Ron's
Make a
been
motion.
all the
Make a
ads
motion.
and wanted to write them himself and have the resumes come to him, so I don't know why it would be any different.
I'll make a motion to offer the 6-month position of recording secretary to our zoning administrator for $53 an hour. For 6 months, until someone can be trained or hired before that. Did I say an hour, Cheryl? $53 an hour?
Yep.
Thank you. Cause I look at it, I'm paying her a training wage too, but I do need a second, or I need a different motion. And I guess I'm not getting a second, so.
It's just too vague, Heidi. $53 an hour, what?
Okay,
So,
okay, okay, all right, I'll
allow-
revise it. I'll revise it. Let me think about it for a second. I gotta think this out loud for a second, so bear with me. How about $53 an hour to execute the process, the entire process of minutes for said committees, BRAC, ZBA, and Planning Commission, as needed. Can you read that back, Cheryl, please?
Motion by Bonneville to $53 an hour to execute the entire process of minutes for said committees, PrAC, CBA, and Planning Commission as needed.
It does say to the zoning administrator somewhere, and then does it not?
Well, your prior motion did,
Okay,
so where do you want that in this motion?
I'm writing the whole motion right now, so you just have to bear with me. To add the position of recording secretary to the zoning. We're better to leave this as a separate entity. Let me think about this for a second. I make a motion to add the position of the recording secretary duty, all duties of the recording secretary.
Wait a minute, to add the
Don't,
position.
Cheryl, I'm just talking out loud right now.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
don't type
Let me
nothing.
know.
I'll let you know in a second. Do you think we should keep, I think we should keep it separate and not attach it to the. Motion to add the recording secretary duties. Okay, Don, how does this sound? Motion to add all the recording secretary duties to the zoning administrator for the next 6 months for the following commissions and committees. RAC, ZBA, and PC for a set amount of $53 an hour, includes posting to website. Okay, motion to add.
I
Go ahead.
might want to just start out temporarily, start your first sentence.
Motion to, you want temporarily put in there?
Yeah.
Motion to temporarily,
Am I writing this down or not?
no, hold on. Motion to temporarily add all the recording secretary duties to the zoning administrator for the next 6 months for the following committees and commissions, PrAC, ZBA, and PC, for a set amount of $53 an hour, includes posting minutes to the website. To the township website. Ryan, are you okay with that? You wanna add anything while I'm zipping along here?
So I have several thoughts.
Okay.
I'm gonna go back to double pay, but I think there's a way around it by narrowing the focus of our current recording secretary, which is to attend and generate. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking we drop the attend, but leave the generate. In other words, she's going to type up the minutes that are taken while she's attending the meeting, doing her zoning administrator work, I'm sorry. And then we have to work in there, instead of per hour, per meeting hour.
Okay.
So in other words, to accommodate Cheryl's thoughts, that if the meeting is 1 hour, then the person is paid $53 an hour to generate the minutes. However, our current policy says $53 an hour to attend and generate. So that makes me think about half of 53. Because we're not going to attend and generate, we're just going to generate. Did any of that make sense?
Yes, it does, but, I'm looking at, you're getting a highly qualified, skilled executive to do your minutes, so that's why I went with the 53 versus 28. Because you're asking someone, this is not something that somebody can just sit and do in a meeting. You have to be able to multitask everything in order to do this and get the right results at the end of the meeting. So, I'm not gonna cut it in half unless you were thinking about adding it somewhere else in this sentence. So could we just leave it if we took out, leave the attend out and just put generate the duties?
I hear what you're saying 100% in terms of qualifications, but I can't get past the fact that as a salaried employee, it's just, this is contrary to some of our policy. I just,
Well, how do you
it's a problem.
compensate,
I
I get it, so how do
you
you
know.
compensate someone for those extra duties?
As I said earlier, you either amend your job description and adjust for the additional duties. But again, is that the direction the new board wants to go? And that is something that might have to be undone later, and it just seemed kind of silly. I think we're right back.
So now we're wasting our time and we still have no solution.
Well, I'm gonna, again, I'll go back to the solution I offered up earlier, and I know it's not optimal. It's the existing commissions and committees use their secretary, their appointed secretary to stopgap this while an ad gets placed for a recorded secretary, and gets put out in the papers to recruit some candidates.
I don't think the window is big enough to do that. The word changes in 2 months, 2.5 months.
We're accelerating where they need to be anyway.
Don, I kind of like your thoughts. And Heidi, I hear your concern about the people walking away. And so I'm going to say something that's very objectionable, but I'm going to say it anyway. Then those people who want to walk away from a very short-term stop-gap fill-in position are probably in the wrong spot anyway.
I've thought about that too.
So I think that the motion that we have in front of us was to discuss an opening of the open board discussion regarding the resignation process, which we didn't do. That requires a letter, but we can deal with that in the second motion. And then I think we have beat the recording secretary duties to death. And so are we done with the discussion?
I've got nothing further to add at this point.
Cheryl?
Nothing.
Heidi?
I don't want crash and burn, and I've been in that situation too. I'm gonna move my So at this point, you're saying let all the committees handle it themselves, correct?
Well, I think that'll be the basis for the motion moving forward, because it is, as we've all pointed out accurately, it's an extremely short period of time. There is a new board coming in that may have completely different views on the topic. While I thought first it would be a benefit to offer existing staff this opportunity, the opportunity may evaporate inside of 60 days or so. I don't feel that's fair to existing staff.
Okay, let's play it out then. I'll take my motion off the table.
And so, Don, thinking about each individual board or commission, a motion making them responsible, the secretaries of each body operating within the township, responsible for the minutes. I would certainly make myself available to help somebody if they were not or did not have access to a computer.
I already made that offer too.
So we could probably minimize any impact there. Any thoughts about verbiage like that, Don?
I had not drafted a motion, if that's what you're alluding to.
I mean, it'd be easy, huh? You could make a motion such as, all secretaries for each commission will be responsible to take, post, and publish the minutes.
That's not true though, Heidi. We already know that the OMA requires each body, excuse me, to designate the person to post. And we've given, we've modified Deb Graber's job description to handle that for at least planning and zoning, provided that's who they want. They could select somebody different, but we've modified her job description to do that.
When did we do that?
Last month, 2 months ago.
Oh, okay.
So I am going to have a motion here. Motion assigning recording secretary duties to the Planning Commission, the Zoning Board of Appeals, and PRAC secretaries.
Gonna put a date on there?
I'm sorry, Heidi?
The date,
Effective today?
effective immediately?
That's a good idea. I like effective immediately.
Okay, so put effective immediately, and then, are you gonna put something in there about training and educate, or?
Nope. So effective immediately, assigning recording secretary duties to Planning Commission, Zoning Board of Appeals, and PRAC secretaries. Does PRAC have a secretary?
They do.
Okay,
Is that your motion?
are there any additional refinements you might recommend to it?
Can you just read it one more time?
All right, motion. Effective immediately, assigning recording secretary duties for the Planning Commission, Zoning Board of Appeals, and Park and Recreation Advisory Committee to the secretaries.
I'll second
It's missing something there. Secretary of the body. Secretary of the body, question
Yeah.
mark?
Yeah, I think yes.
I'll take my second off temporarily, so you.
I haven't even heard a second.
Right. So, trying to refine this, Cheryl, so nothing to type. Effective immediately, assign recording secretary duties for the Planning Commission, Zoning Board of Appeals, Park and Recreation Advisory Committee to the secretaries of the individual body.
Would it be their respective bodies?
Oh, good. Yeah, I like that. I like that. So again, another read through without any typing. Effective immediately, assigning recording secretary duties to the Planning Commission, Zoning Board of Appeals, Park and Recreation Advisory Committee, secretary to the secretaries of the respective bodies. So I will make the following motion. Effective immediately, assign recording secretary duties of the Planning Commission, Zoning Board of Appeals, and Park and Recreation Advisory Committee to the secretaries of the respective bodies. End motion.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Were you able to capture that, Cheryl?
Yep.
Further questions? Roll call when ready.
Brian, I had a question.
Okay, I'm sorry, Heidi.
That's all right. Will the committees and commissions need to add this to their bylaws?
It should already be in their bylaws.
Interesting, okay.
Per the MTA, what I read earlier, it should already be in their bylaws.
The ZBA's got countermanding orders in their bylaws, but okay.
Yeah, yeah. That one's a joke there.
Oh, I'm dead serious, that if you read the bylaws of the ZBA's, there's countermanding orders in there, but okay.
Yes. Yep. All right, so any additional comments or questions on this motion? Roll call when ready.
Glenn,
Yes.
Pat,
Yes.
Gus, yes, Ahmed,
No.
Bennett's absent.
I believe that motion passes.
Correct.
Still the same business item, second motion, packet page 77, I believe. Motion 2 to accept Lois McLean's resignation
email dated August 10th, 2024. And this would be effective for all bodies in Whitewater Township.
I'll second it for conversation.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion?
Well, I mean, per the policy, there has to be a formal letter turned into the clerk, correct, not an email?
Well, that's the policy, but as I think the business packet shows, I did in fact ask for that letter and got the email response dated August 29th on packet page 79. As you can see in the email thread, I let Linda know I'd not be doing the PC minutes. So I really couldn't care less if Lois provides a resignation letter or not, quite frankly.
Oh, we have that in writing, so. So, if you could you just read back that motion one more time?
Sure. Yep. And this motion is motion to accept Lois McLean's resignation email dated August 10th, 2024 for all bodies. Yeah, that don't do it.
The original motion was for all bodies in Whitewater Township.
Right, but really,
Can't you just put down, do you wanna put down like the entire job, and
no, what I'm looking for, Don, is honing in on recording secretary duties, right? And in the emails that I'm reading, it's indicating we would not be doing the minutes. I guess we can make an assumption that it is recording secretary duties. Let me rephrase a motion here.
alright, while you're thinking about that, can I go to the bathroom? Hey, we come up with a motion?
Almost there. Well, the only way I see moving this forward is termination of Lois as the recording secretary of Whitewater Township. And I don't want to do that. That is not correct. But her resignation letter as of August 10th clearly indicates planning commission only. In a previous discussion, I believe the board has determined that if you resign from one, you resign from all. So again, to your point, Don, the letter is important, resigning from the recording secretary duties.
And that doesn't exist as of today, does it?
Correct. Does not exist as of today.
Do we ask her for one?
I did.
That's what I thought.
So, again, I do not want to
Did you
use the
ask
word.
her to, I'm trying to remember this, didn't you ask her to verify that she sent the email? I thought that's what was asked.
Well, we could do semantics, I guess.
Well,
No, the record is what the record is.
yeah, but it has to be kind of.
How about this? Motion to no longer use Lois McLean as recording secretary for Whitewater Township.
That's the same as terminating, isn't it?
I'll be happy to use the word terminate. Quite frankly, I'm tired of people not following what they're supposed to do. So if she wants to be the way she wants to be, then let it be. I'll use the word terminate.
Well, the motion's already been made that, the secretaries of those bodies are going to be responsible for the minutes, so there is no job, for Lois at those meetings.
Say again, Cheryl?
The board has already voted on making the secretaries of those other three bodies responsible for the minutes of those bodies, so there isn't anything for Lois to do at those meetings.
Yes, there is. Lois is a bona fide employee of the township and as such is supposed to follow the rules. I'm sorry, you disagree with that.
But you have by other action obviated the need for her to be at those meetings.
That's what I would assume. We've taken action that reassigning that duty.
That's right.
And so the need for those services from Lois outside of her planning commission request goes away because of our action. Because it's not needed at the PrAC or at the ZBA, because we've already made the decision on how that's gonna be handled going forward.
Yeah.
So I think maybe your modification, Ron, is the motion that exists today, and you're at the end, while removing her responsibilities from the other committees, due to a previous board action, maybe just what's warranted at the end there to solidify that.
Making the second motion unnecessary is your point.
Well, what, you had a motion out there, motion to accept Lois McLean's resignation, email dated August 10th, 2024, and then you added something to that, I didn't get that written down.
For all bodies in Whitewater.
For all
Township.
bodies in Whitewater Township,
But then there's been a new motion, that motion was not voted.
oh, okay,
Then the new motion, after Heidi came back to the board table, was to no longer use Lois McLean as recording secretary for Whitewater Township.
I think I'd rather see that previous motion that you had, Ron, and just add a caveat to the end based on the board's most previous action.
Okay, so come up with something, Don.
Okay, so let's work off the one where motion to accept Lois McLean's resignation, email dated August 10th, 2024. And you had added, what did you add to the end of that?
So I did not write that.
Thank you. For all bodies in Whitewater Township. Based on the board's previous immediate action. Board's previous immediate action to designate the secretaries of bodies to maintain minutes, to maintain them to prepare the minutes. Thank you, Cheryl.
Can we get a reread of that motion?
Motion to accept Lois McLean's resignation, email dated 8/10/24 for all bodies in Whitewater Township based on the board's previous immediate action to designate the secretaries of the bodies to prepare the minutes.
I will mind you that the August 10th email does not state that. But if that's the motion on the floor, I'm good with it.
How would you modify that?
I would not. Any other questions or comments? Roll call when ready.
There's no second on it.
Well, and are you making the motion, Don? Because you were formulating it, but I wasn't sure if you were actually making it.
Okay, sure.
Alright,
Okay, so you're making the motion.
Yep.
Who's seconding the motion?
I'll second.
Who seconded it?
I do.
Heidi,
Any further comments or discussions on this motion? Roll call when ready.
Bonus,
Yes.
Zach is absent. Pat,
No.
Glenn,
yes.
Goss, yes.
All right. I believe that brings us to new business number 4. Motion 1. This appears on packet page 82. Motion to adopt the Whitewater Township Administrative Policy and Procedure Manual, Section 1.0 as written.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Roll call when ready.
Goss? No. Damian?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Pop?
Yes.
Bennett is absent.
Same business item, packet page 83, motion number 2. Motion to adopt Whitewater Township Administrative Policy and Procedure Manual, section 7.0 as written.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Roll call when ready.
Bennett is absent. Glenn?
Yes.
Goss? No. Damian?
Yes.
Pop?
Yes. New business number 5 has been removed from the agenda for this month. Brings us to new business number 6, which apparently there has been some new information presented as of what, August 29th? Is that what you said, Cheryl?
August 26th.
August 26th? Is there a reason to consider new business number 6?
Not based on my research.
So I'm gonna make the motion and just to dispose of the business and the agenda item because we didn't deal with this at the beginning of the agenda. So if there, again, this is just to dispose of the business item. So I am making the motion as it appears on page 86. Motion directing the Whitewater Township Clerk to complete her statutory duties as defined by MCL 41.66, further defined by the Michigan Township Association publication, Authorities and Responsibilities of Michigan Townships, pages 162 of the 2020 edition.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion?
And the further discussion is that per the email, that is not one of my statutory duties.
And roll call when ready.
The MCL cited by you and by the planning commission chairperson is does not say what you are purporting it says.
That's your opinion.
Exactly.
No, that's the MTA's opinion.
And still it's an opinion.
It's far more
And
knowledgeable.
if I wanted to,
than you
if
are.
I wanted opinions from assholes, I would listen to their farts, but I don't. So
Oh,
thank you.
wow, calling the MTA assholes?
That's not what he said.
That's quite professional. Quite unprofessional. So again, I will read then what the MTA, who is far more knowledgeable on this topic than anyone on this board, said. With respect.
Put it in writing,
With respect
because we
to
all know how
who
your
was
words get
responsible
confused.
for the minutes.
You know, we would hate to listen to another misinformation statement by the clerk. That would be just terrible. That a misinformation statement by the clerk would be stated once again.
They should have an appointed secretary and their bylaws should state their responsibilities are for the minutes. It is common for the township board to budget a recording secretary to help these boards out, but it is not required. If they do not have recording secretary assistants, they would keep their own minutes based on their bylaws. And that is the authoritative guidance from the MTA.
That is an opinion.
Yep, because you
It's
follow
not an
Robert's
opinion.
rules. Because you follow Robert's rules also, so, okay.
Robert's rules isn't cited in the motion, Heidi. There's an
No, it's
attempt to
not.
cite a statute that doesn't say what Ron Pop and Linda Slopesma say that it says they have once again misinterpreted statutes, and this isn't even close to the first time that Ron Pop has misinterpreted statutes.
Nor the first time that Clerk Goss, Cheryl Goss, has provided misinformation upon interpretations.
Oh, please, you're the master and of misinformation, and everybody in this township knows it. Okay, we ready to vote?
Roll call when ready. Yes.
Goss, stupid motion. Valmuth,
Yeah. You have to vote, Cheryl, yes or no?
I did vote, stupid motion.
You have to
Are you
vote
gonna
yes or no, Cheryl.
I'm not going to vote yes or no, we all, we'll be here all day waiting for me to do that. Valmuth,
Yes.
Bennett is absent. Glenn,
Yes.
Motion passes.
and once again, these are not my statutory duties. And so I will not be at any planning commission, ZBA, or Parks and Rec meetings.
Good. Can I get that in writing?
Can we get you to skip board meetings?
You're done, you're almost done here, Pop. The township's gonna be way better off without your asinine
Oh, stop it, Cheryl.
behavior.
At least I didn't defraud anybody.
Oh, yeah, right. Well, you
So-
you made an illegal credit card transaction, and that's right out of the mouth of the auditor, pal. So if you don't think you did, you should call up the auditor and speak to them directly.
Again, you haven't proven it in writing, so it's just another statement
The,
made by
I
somebody
have
we know who
I talked to the auditor.
has
about it.
lots of
I talked to the
misinformation.
auditor. You all know how to contact the auditor.
No, I can't take it anymore. Jesus Christ.
The public isn't gonna miss you either, Heidi.
You know what? I did this for the people. I did what I needed to do, Cheryl.
Oh, you're so, all
All
right,
I can
let's
verify
move on.
Cheryl's statement, I was here with the auditor.
That's right.
Okay,
It was illegal.
continue on here.
It was illegal.
You gotta do public comments if you wanna talk.
What about 2024 community Halloween event? I thought that was.
So on packet page 91, we have motion 1 due to the resignation of Ardella Bennett and Lois McLean from the planning phase of the 2024 community Halloween event. And I should say WISA 2024 community Halloween event. A motion to cancel the event is made.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion?
Yes, I have some discussion.
Okay.
Hold on. Did anyone else get the email that Josh sent the board? Anybody have time to read it?
I got an email from Josh.
Don't you think we should bring that to the table?
Possibly. Go ahead.
I'm gonna read the email that the fire chief wrote. As we all, dear board members, as we are all aware, the Halloween party is one of the most highly anticipated events in Whitewater Township. I'm writing to propose involving the Parks Department in future planning and execution of this event, though not necessary for this year. My vision, should we be unable to find volunteers, such as spouses of current firefighters through WISA, is to transition the cherished tradition into a formal township event, preserving both its history and its significance to our community. While I am fully committed to supporting the Halloween party, I currently do not have the capacity to lead its planning and execution on its current format. It continually goes on, but at this point, if you are planning on something and you're in the planning situation and you decide to walk out the door, then the event should be canceled at the respect to all the other individuals. However, they can have the Halloween party in the park, the campers can have their own little party, they can do whatever they want. But due to the fact of the resignation of certain members of the committee, I agree, it should be canceled at this time and better planning for next year, but it doesn't mean the participants in the campground can't have their own Halloween party. But I don't think it's fair to walk away and dump something. If you're gonna quit, then you stop the process. So it becomes a fail and you move on, my opinion. I'm not gonna finish this email because apparently you all also received it, so. He took the high road, I applaud him for that. I'm gonna take the high road and tell the campers, have a great party and we'll help you next year if possible, but. Due to unforeseen circumstances, leave it at that, no party. But I don't think it's fair to quit something and then expect everybody else to clean up the mess.
So Heidi, I have a couple of questions about what you said. Listening to what I think you said is the sanctioned event, the WISA sanctioned event would be canceled. But did I understand you wanted to let those campers who may be planning on attend?
Well, put it to you this way, if they've already booked a campsite, I mean, this is like 2 weeks away, isn't it? Isn't it like October 5th or something? So it's 3 weeks away. I'm sure those people are getting all their stuff together and thinking about all the cool things they can do for this event. Let the campers have their party, it's just not gonna be with the township or Lisa's or the campground's help. But we're not gonna stop them if they wanna have a Halloween party.
Would y'all like some accurate information about that?
No.
Would anybody like to have input from someone from WISA?
Well,
Sometimes you guys let
It's
people
not up
in the
to you,
audience
though.
talk.
You guys, Lois, you can't talk right now. You should have bounced up at public comments. Lisa should have bounced up at public comments, but they chose to handle it in different situations. So at this point, with the homework I did, I don't see that the park will have a problem. They might have to notify or put it up on the website. Somebody's gonna have to do something. But we shouldn't be pointing fingers. We should just not have it and move on. But everybody likes to point fingers, so. That's all I got. Thoughts, Don?
Well, I view this, it's always been a WISA event, which in and of itself is a separate entity. And work closely with the fire department because of the relationship between the services that both were looking to augment. And if WISA notified Chief Morgan that they were no longer gonna participate in this event, then I would have expected somebody from WISA, there's other board members, to step up and fill that void. Because the township, while they provided the accommodation of the park, has not been involved in any of the planning or the execution of this event. And I don't even have the first clue
what goes into pulling this together. And I know it's a, when you're closing off an entire loop, 20 to 29, for major displays and Halloween decorations, and I just don't, I think if Lisa wanted to run this, if they had some members that chose not to participate in it, I would have thought other Lisa members would have stepped up and filled the void. At this point in time, I, to your point, Heidi, if somebody's there and they wanna decorate their site and hand out candy to kids around them, we certainly have that right as a campground. It doesn't, and I'm not suggesting that the event be terminated. I'm suggesting that it's a sabbatical for 1 year, given the situation. And I think Josh Morgan may be onto something, and maybe a collaborative effort between Lisa and the fire department, and it starts to become a township sponsored event. I think that has a slippery slope of some nature, but that's for somebody else to discuss. And look at next year from but given this situation, I just don't see any alternative to other than canceling it at this point.
Don, were sites booked for that weekend in the middle loop?
Not in 20 through 29, they're blocked out. I mean, have the
Are there any sites booked right now for October 4th and 5th in the middle loop?
Gerald, I
20 through 29.
I don't believe there are any.
Okay, so
those
you
were-
did block those so that they wouldn't get, so the party could be held.
Yes, those were blocked out,
Okay,
those were
okay.
blocked out in April.
Yeah.
So,
But however, you allowed reservations from the beginning of the reservation site going live for that weekend, right from the beginning?
people can make the reservations through October 15th. So, yeah, I
Well,
mean,
no, I'm saying from the date the site went live, which I believe was April 11th, were people able, was the public able to book sites for October 4th and 5th?
yes, other than that
Okay.
middle loop, which had been at that time blocked out,
Right.
which is, when we did it 2 years ago, we didn't know that, or, Butler and I did not know that.
A year ago.
Yeah, Ardella brought that to our attention, and we made some adjustments with the campers that were in there and cleared that loop out.
Yeah.
This year, we were out in front and blocked that.
Well, it's likely that, and that's not the way it's done, because we have a list of people, when you open up that booking to just anybody, you get the older people who are still out traveling around the state, and we did that 1 year, and we got a lot of people who were interested in participating in the Halloween party. You don't start booking that until July or so, and then you target the people who are known to want to participate in the Halloween party. When you don't target those people, you have half the campground that's not participating, and that's not as much fun for anybody. And so I would say we've already had, you've probably got, I don't know if you're full or not, but you've probably got already people who aren't planning to participate in a Halloween party anyways. You may have some that are, but and you have to have, the township, it's not a lawful expenditure, as the auditors have told us in the past, for the township to expend funds. They can't buy food, candy, any piñatas, game prizes. They can't give money to the top 3 best decorated campsites. You can't use township funds for that. And that's why the auxiliary has always been the one to put that on, and this is something that's got a 40-some year history. My kids to this when it was at the fire station, and the auxiliary at that time, which was a bunch of different people than it is currently, maybe not 100%, but anyways, that's how it was put on. It was a very popular event, well attended. I was out there last year because I volunteered with it, the parking lot was jammed full. There were people all over the campground, the weather was great. But you don't have that organization, this year. Is it unfortunate that, the township is finding out that that organization is not available? Probably too close to the event to do something different, probably. But certainly, maybe, whoever is in the auxiliary going forward. But I can tell you, from being with the township for the last 12 years, I do know how much work it is, to get all the donations and buy the food and, manage and organize the whole thing, and the people that are required, to put it on there's a lot of people required to put the thing on. So, it's, one of those things that, the fire department is gonna need help with going forward. And I can understand Josh's email that he doesn't wanna see the tradition go away, but it's kind of short notice, to make it the event that it has been for many, many years. So those are just my comments, but I would also thank Ardella and Lois and all of their family and friends, who have been this thing was about to die out when Della came on the board, and they resurrected it and have made it an extremely popular event in the township, and one that the public looks forward to. It's at no cost whatsoever to any township person. They take donations, but that's not required. And I just wanna thank Ardella and Lois for the massive, massive amount of work that has gone into putting this thing on all these years that they've been involved. Thank you.
So that's great, but they decided not to do it and not give anybody enough time to.
Yeah, we all know
take it
that,
over.
Heidi. Yeah, I acknowledge that.
Let's move on.
So I'm not sure my question got answered, Heidi. Are we still allowing those people to, we're just gonna take off the Halloween party notification? Is that the idea?
That wouldn't.
In other words,
That wouldn't tell the campers that they could still do it if you took it off. Why not just leave it on and say, everyone, there's no, how would you put that? Sponsored Halloween event, but if you wanna all have your own party and your own contest, we will not object to it, we just won't be.
no.
Then how are you gonna tell the people that already think you're having a party?
Well, once again, if you allow it to go on unchaperoned or unsponsored or unhosted, whatever term you want to use, then that's just going to open the thing up for chaos. As Cheryl said, there's a lot of planning and development that goes into this. That ain't going to happen. Subjecting park staff to that ridicule should be a major concern for the board.
Cause they're not having the party.
Well, we're not planning anything, and as Cheryl rightfully said, we can't, as a township, we can't spend the money to do it, apparently. So I believe depending on what auditor you talk to, that varies, but maybe not. it's gone
This township
flip-flop a couple of
boards
different times.
only have the authority to do that which they have been given the authority to do by the state legislature. If you can find a statute that says a township can put on a Halloween party, you can spend money on a Halloween party, and you're not gonna find it. So a township, and you can go on the MTA website and look up lawful expenditures, and it explains it very well.
I believe Ardella has in the past indicated that it is an advertisement of your community development. And so whether or not that's actual truth, I think that's how it was handled at least a couple of years in the past, but that's
No,
immaterial.
The township hasn't spent any money on it in several years.
So really, motion one is a WISA thing. And motion two, that hasn't been made yet, really talks about the advertisement of the event. Given that motion one has already been made, if there's no further comments or discussion, I'm going to ask for a roll call on it.
That's fine.
Glenn,
Yes.
Pat,
Yes.
Bennett is absent, Goss? Yes, Bumby,
Yes.
So I'm going to make motion two for discussion purposes. Motion to replace all advertisement for the 2024 WISA Halloween community event with a cancellation notice. Well, that didn't work out as well as I hoped. What about if we just remove the advertisement for the WISA 2024 Halloween community Halloween event from the township websites and media outlets? And then does that allow Heidi's thought that if somebody wants to decorate, they can decorate?
I mean, why is Halloween any different? If you have a camper out there that wants to put a bunch
Birthday
of flags
party.
around their for 4th of July or Labor Day or Memorial Day, or to Heidi's point, you know, somebody's hanging some birthday streamers. I mean, how's this any different than a camper that's out there for that weekend decides that they wanna, you know, put up some ghosts and goblins? I mean, I think that's an inherent right of leasing, renting that property, renting that site for the weekend.
I mean, aren't you just, I mean, the board's already voted that the event is canceled. I mean, the indication that it's going to be held on October 4th and 5th should, as a result of that motion, that action by the board, be removed from the Whitewater Township Park website. What else do you need to do? And probably the park manager should inform, they should probably call all the campers who are booked for that weekend and let them know that the park is going to be happening. And then, you know, obviously they can follow the refund policy. If they choose to request a refund that's far enough out that they would get most of their fee returned.
The park should bear no responsibility for WISA's cancellation.
How will it?
Well, if,
I mean,
if you say it's
you
illegal
do
for
have to
us,
you do have to notify the campers. So, you do have.
somebody put the notification on the website that shouldn't have. Because if we're not allowed to do that, then we should not have spent the money to put the notification on the website, Cheryl. So,
Well, you all put the notification on the website. Lisa didn't have anything to do with that.
I didn't do it.
Well, somebody told Jim Sundberg to, or whoever's programming the Rover Pass website, somebody gave them that language to put on there. They wouldn't have put it on there otherwise, so somebody gave them those dates. That's been on there since the site went live. Now, whether that was Andrew or Don or Mike, I don't know. Okay, well, it was somebody. It wasn't the Tooth Fairy. So, it's okay, well, great, but it was somebody affiliated with Whitewater Township because that's the only person that would have had authority to put that language on there. You know, you just need to get the language off there, however, whoever has to do that, I don't know. Get the language off there, and then the park employees have a duty to call all of the campers who are booked for that weekend and let them know that there is not going to be a Halloween party, and then the campers will decide if they still wanna come or if they're going to submit a request for a refund. It doesn't really matter the reason it's being canceled, it's being canceled. So, the sooner that incorrect information is removed from the Whitewater Township Park website, the better it will be for the camping public.
So I will make motion number 2, which is on page 91, exactly as written. Motion to replace all advertisement for this event with a cancellation notice of the event and process for claiming a refund on all township websites and media outlets.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? The process is noted in the paragraph directly above motion 1. Roll call when ready.
Bennett is absent. Baumel.
Yes.
Pop.
Yes.
Glenn.
Yes. Yes.
Goss. No.
There are no tabled items. Any board comments or discussions? Next board meeting is October 8th, 2024 at 9 a.m. Any public comment on Zoom, please use the raise your hand function and we'll get back to you. Any public comment in the Township Hall, please make your way to the podium.
Jerry Piskowski. My understanding is PrAC works at the pleasure of the board and not one individual. I presented to you this morning 2 packages that were sent to this board. And I'm surprised that the Lassie Road Trail package, which was presented to you back in August, had no discussion or comment made. I'm asking each of you, do you not owe the PrAC committee the courtesy of a response to both these members? individual who spends a lot of time, if what we're presenting is not going to be approved, just tell us that. And we won't waste our time. Thank you.
Anyone else in Township Board?
Yeah. Lowest complaint 5919 Linda Lake. I believe Josh's email was looking for action into the future. Not including this year. If you read his whole email, you'll understand it's not for this year. And we did not jump ship. We just said that we wouldn't be doing it as large. And when we had another meeting last night with the fire chief and other fire members who help with this particular project, as we saw, we determined that, you know, how it was gonna be scaled down, who was still gonna be doing what. There was no indication to Josh that we weren't going to do this year. And so it was really sad, and I brought this up at the meeting last night, that he presented that email first, because that was first, and then the way that it got slammed, wham, into canceling the whole thing completely in the board packet. It was like, it went completely downhill from something that didn't need to go downhill. And I'm sorry I didn't comment this morning, but it was made clear, very clear at the meeting last night that Josh was going to address that. When I popped in this morning and he was already speaking, I just guessed that he had covered that first because that's what he said he was going to do. And it's a shame because the Pinatas has been a 49-year event for the fire department, nothing to do with the auxiliary. And now that's gone. And that's just a shame. They all decided to slam this based on an email that said that going forward, and he didn't indicate 2024. I know that he was a little stressed about it, but we weren't leaving him hanging. Bella's still got all the people lined up who's gonna help. And so we had a meeting last night and kept going on, and we're talking about, you know, who's gonna help with the tent up, and the pinatas can be here, and the balloon stuff here and here, and you know, we're getting into it, and it's like, well, we don't know what the board's gonna do, so why don't we just wait? If they vote no, then we're all done and we won't be dealing with that this year. Otherwise, yeah, we're moving forward. But apparently, we all decided, now unless there's any way you can pull this back up and revote, we still had no intention of leaving them hanging completely. That is not what was presented, and that's how it was presented in the packet. That's it, thanks.
Thank you.
And you could have let me talk. And then you'd have had all that information before. Oops, I stepped away from the microphone, sorry.
Anyone else in Township Hall?
Very good. I just want this on the record, Heidi Vaughn, 8388 Green Lane. Board member, private citizen, and, yippee-ki-yay, playground equipment. I have nothing against this proposal. But I have a real problem that there's no inspection listed anywhere. That an inspection was gonna be done. Did not get my name put up on a sign because I closed a park for no inspection. I have a lot wrong with it, so I guess I gotta go to the correct meeting next time. Thank you.
Anyone else in Township Hall? And how about on Zoom?
Oh, now he's doing Zoom.
I'm sorry, was there somebody in Township Hall?
No, there wasn't, Ron, I just asked if there was, if we did Zoom, I didn't recall we did Zoom already or not.
Okay. How about anyone on Zoom wishing to make a comment? So I'll make a rebuttal to Gary. To be clear, Gary, I sent an email to all PrAC members. I know he's not there. I sent an email to all PrAC members as well as all board members requesting every document that was supposedly to be forwarded to the board by the minutes of the PrAC body. And I got nothing. Matter of fact, the chair said, the minutes really don't reflect our actions. They're just there for references. So the next time we have a person from PrAC get up and say that it was forwarded to the board, they better know what they're talking about. The last one we got forwarded was on September 5, and that was for the toddler playground equipment at the park, which still doesn't have the topographical survey done. But yet somebody went out and found money to buy this stuff, got a grant, without ever knowing how much the project's going to cost. Typical PrAC. So that's the end of my comments. Anyone else on Zoom? Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Roll call when ready.
Bennett is absent, Goss, yes, Glenn,
Yes.
Hot,
Yes.
Donald,
Yes.
meeting adjourned at 11:57 a.m.
Meeting adjourned at 11:57 a.m. Thank you.
Okay, I am too. I might not be there when we get back, but I'm coming back, but, I didn't bring my lunch, I was something, okay, I got my keys, so, okay.